Many people in energy and sustainability asked, and the question is this: is the Certified Energy Auditor CEA credential enough on its own, or is the Investment Grade Energy Auditor IGEA the better path if your goal is real job-ready skills? Certified Energy Auditor CEA versus the Investment Grade Energy Auditor IGEA. Which path builds real skills? Now, firstly, I need to give a note of respect to the Association of Energy Engineers, which has been a pioneer and trailblazer. For decades, AEE has helped shape the energy profession. The Certified Energy Manager, CEM, and Certified Energy Auditor Program, CEA, helped build common language, shared expectations, and employer recognition in many countries. So many of us have benefited from this foundation. This contribution matters and it deserves credit. Now, this video is produced by the Sustainability Education Academy. I'm Bruce Rouse. We also offer a certification, the Investment Grade Energy Auditor, IGEA certification. Our goal today is to give you a fair, careful comparison so that you can make a well-informed choice. We'll discuss how CEA and CEM commonly work in practice and how Systemi's IGEA differs, specifically in training depth, assessment methods, and the kind of evidence that you leave with at the end of what you've learned. Now, I'm going to try to keep the language straightforward, and I'm going to try to avoid any hype. I don't want to criticize AEE. Instead, I actually want to acknowledge their leadership and then expand on where the IGEA takes a different path for learners who want deeper practice, more rigorous feedback, and demonstrated skill. So over this video, we're going to give you firstly a short background on AEA and the CEA-CEM model. Then we're going to do through a practical walkthrough of what you'll learn and how you're assessed in the CEA and CEM. Then we're going to give you a point-by-point comparison with the IGEA, covering the content depth, assessment design, feedback, and real-world proof. We're then going to have a brief music analogy, which we'll keep tight, to show why practice plus feedback matters. And then at the end, we're going to have a simple action plan for choosing your next step. By the end, if you're serious about mastering energy auditing work and not just knowing the terms, you should have a clear sense of why many learners choose the IGEA, even though it's tougher and harder to get. So background and explanation about AEE and the CEA and CEM. So AEE's role as a pioneer, it's a not-for-profit professional society with a long track record of promoting energy management education and professional certification in many countries. It's helped define the field and connect practitioners. That leadership is why employers know the names CEA, Certified Energy Auditor, and CEM, Certified Energy Manager, and often list them in job postings. Now, that's not in all employers, but in many countries, these certifications are well known. How the CEA and CEM typically work. So this is how you typically get a certification. Details will vary by region and training provider, but the broad pattern is familiar. Firstly, you need to have prerequisites, which involve both education and experience. Applicants need to demonstrate relevant education and a minimum number of years in related roles. Typically, higher formal education in engineering-related roles to energy typically mean fewer required years of experience. Less formal education means you need more experience before you're eligible for these certifications. Now let's look at the trainer, which is intensive and instructor-led training. Candidates often attend a live course, which is either in a classroom, live, or virtual classroom. Again, live, commonly delivered over 3 to 5 days. It's an efficient way to cover a large body of knowledge. We'll cover terminology, method standards, and calculations. This is then followed by a multiple choice exam, either immediately after the course or soon after. Candidates sit a time-limited exam, and if it's live in the classroom, it's a proctored exam. It samples knowledge across a wide range of topics in a multiple choice format. Then we have certification renewal. Successful candidates who pass the exam earn the credential, and who meet the prerequisites earn the credential and then renew on a 3-year cycle by submitting continued education credits, CEUs or PDHs, professional development hours, that show ongoing learning. Firstly, you need to have prerequisites, which involve both education and experience. Applicants need to demonstrate relevant education and a minimum number of years in related roles. Typically, higher formal education in engineering-related roles to energy typically mean fewer required years of experience. Now, I just want to have a quick word on the pass rate versus the passing score. You may have heard people say 70% pass. So two separate ideas often get mixed. The passing score for at least some AEE exams, for example the CEA exam, has historically been 70%, meaning an individual needs to answer 70% or more of the questions correctly to pass. The pass rate, which is the percentage of all test takers who pass, is not the same thing. AEE does not publish the official pass rate statistics for each exam, so we're going to avoid stating a numeric pass rate. So the distinction matters. A published passing score tells you how your own exam is graded. An official pass rate, if published, would tell you how selective the program is overall. Without official pass rate data, the honest choice is to stick to what's documented and not to guess the pass rate. So what's documented is you need 70% typically to pass an AEE exam. Now, AEE has a training provider or training partner provider model. AEE works with approved training partners, training providers, and local chapters in a number of countries to deliver programs and maintain standards. Now, this is one reason why AEE's programs have reached scale and recognition, because they've got local champions. What the CEA and CEM signal? These credentials signal that a professional has studied a defined body of knowledge, met eligibility requirements, and succeeded on a time-limited exam which is proctored. That's valuable. It indicates commitment and broad familiarity with the field's core concepts. Now let's look at a comparison of the CA or CEM versus the IGEA. So Systemi's Investment Grade Energy Auditor certification, IGEA, is what we're comparing with. Now the goal isn't to declare a winner for everyone, but to show which path best fits your goals. So the entry requirements for the CA-CEM are tied to education and experience. A bachelor's degree in a relevant discipline usually means fewer years of required experience. A diploma means more. No related formal education usually requires the most experience. With the IGEA, there is no formal prerequisites to begin studying. This opens the door to newcomers and career changes. However, we still recommend a technical foundation, mechanical or electrical, because the program actually is demanding. So takeaway is, if you already have years of experience and what a credential employers in many countries, but not all countries, will instantly recognize, CEA, CEM can be a quick fit. But if you're earlier in your journey or switching fields, the IGEA lets you start now while steadily building practical capability. Now let's look at the training format in depth. The CA-CEM is a compact 3 to 5 day training course. It's dense and efficient, ideal for covering a wide body of knowledge quickly. Many candidates describe it as an immersion week. Now, the IGEA is an on-demand online program with approximately 4 times the content of a week-long short course. So there's a lot more content in it. Lessons are modular with checkpoints. You can pause, replay, and revisit complex topics. It's designed for retention and application, not just exposure. So a takeaway would be, if you want concentrated exposure to core concepts, a short AEA course is efficient. If you want a deeper understanding, IGEA's longer spaced learning structure helps ideas move from awareness to competence. Now let's look at the assessment design and progression, and they're very different. The CA-CEM, the capstone assessment, and in fact the only assessment, is a proctored multiple choice exam under time pressure. It's a strong test of knowledge and calculation fluency. In the IGA, the assessment is staged. Firstly, there's frequent formative quizzes, which are multiple choice, free response, we actually have to know the right answer, otherwise you get it wrong, or sorting choice questions. And if you get it wrong, there's an immediate explanation and you can retake the questions again. Questions are drawn from a question bank, so the questions will probably be different. And that helps turn mistakes into learning, so you know why you got it wrong. Secondly, to get the provisional certification, there's a 1 hour live interview where you explain concepts and methods on the spot. So you're asked questions, you need to know the answer straight away. Now, the first time pass rate so far for this are around 50%. So it's not easy to pass unless you really know it. The third element to get your full certification is a substantial applied project that demonstrates the full workflow of investment grade auditing, from scoping the audit through to the calculations, through to documentation and defensible results. So you've actually got to do an energy audit from the start to end and present that to be assessed. Now, the first time pass rates are below 50%. However, there's detailed feedback and you have submission options, resubmission to close that gap. So a takeaway is that a single multiple choice exam is excellent for sampling broad knowledge. But if you need to show how you think and how you deliver, the IGEA's interview and project-based assessment provide stronger evidence of practical competence. Now let's look at the feedback and growth loop. In the CA or CEM, candidates study, take the exam and receive a pass-fail outcome, plus a score. Now that can be motivating, but systematic skills feedback is limited by the nature of the standardized exams. In the IGEA, feedback is built in at every stage. Quizzes include explanations for answers if you got them wrong. The interview, you provided verbal and written feedback after the interview and provides immediate coaching signals. In the project that you deliver, you include detailed written commentary plus verbal feedback on the calculations you've made, the assumptions of risk, and the documentation. The expectation through the IGA is that many candidates will improve across attempts. So the takeaway is if your goal is growth, a structure that expects iteration will usually help you grow faster and more reliably. Now, what can employers infer? So, for someone who has the CA/CM, they can infer that the candidate meets eligibility criteria, they've studied a broad body of knowledge, and they've passed the proctored exam. This is a trustworthy baseline signal of dedication and familiarity with core concepts. In the IGEA, in addition to theoretical knowledge, the candidate has defended their thinking live and delivered a documented project with review comments. Employers can ask to see the work sample, which demonstrates applied skill. So a takeaway is for screening, CA/CM remains valuable. For role fit on applied auditing work, an IGEA portfolio can reduce hiring risk because it shows how a candidate performs on realistic tasks. So now let's look at some day-in-the-life examples. If you're doing the short course model, CA or CM, you block out a week, you attend long days, you take notes, you can ask questions in class, and prepare for a high-stake exam at the end. Now, 2 months later, unless you actively use the material, some of the details have faded. That's normal. Spacing and practice drive retention. In the spaced learning module, the IGA, you study over weeks, you practice with quizzes, and you can revisit tough topics. By the time you face the interview, and then after that the project, you've already rehearsed explanations and calculations many times. Your learning should be more embedded and not just recognized. In terms of renewal and ongoing development, the CA/CEM credentials renew on a 3-year cycle by submitting continued education, evidence of continued education, CUs, PDHs, professional development hours. This maintains standards, or you could also call it CPDs, continued professional development. This maintains standards and encourages ongoing learning. The IGA renewal emphasizes fresh practice, so you've got to actually prove you've done energy audits, and evidence of application. So it can be brief updates on the work samples or short reflective exercises, so your portfolio stays current and useful. So takeaways that both paths value ongoing learning. IGA learns towards evidence-based maintenance of skill, while AEA's model learns towards documented continuing education. So let's try to pull together a respectful synthesis of the two now. I need to be really clear. AEA's contributions are foundational for our industry. CA and CM have created common ground across the industry and remain recognised in many parts of the world, not all, but many parts of the world. Now, if your immediate need is a credential that signals knowledge and dedication, and the CA and CM are recognised in your country, the CA or CM can serve you well. If your primary goal is to perform investment grade audits confidently, communicate your reasoning on the spot, and deliver defendable results, then IGEA's deeper content, feedback-rich design, and evidence of practice will likely serve you better. A pathway that is complementary would be to, after obtaining an AE credential, then to pursue the IGEA to sharpen applied skills. So what do the assessments actually look like? Let's try and give some concrete examples. The CA/CM questions would change over time, so I actually don't know necessarily what they are, but here's some examples of what maybe some typical exam tasks, which are multiple choice under time pressure. So you may, for example, have to pick the right formula for annual savings from a retrofit. You may have to match a brief scenario to an audit level. What level of audit would this adhere to? You may have to solve a simple payback challenge or calculate a simple payback, and choose the correct option out of the multiple choices. So for the IGEA, some typical tasks would be in your assessment, both applied or reviewed, would be that you'd have to scope a real energy audit. You'd have to show the data you've gathered and explain, for example, the energy use breakdown that you developed. You would have to do calculations, and you're not given any multiple choice. You actually have to do the calculation, and then it would be checked against what the answer should be versus what you've got. In the energy audit, you'll have to develop multiple measures and show you calculation steps and assumptions arising in developing those energy savings measures. And you have to undertake and submit an energy audit report. These examples show the emphasis. The CA, CEM assessment samples broad knowledge. The IGEA asks you to walk a realistic path and submit evidence that you can think and communicate like an auditor. Now let's look at the time and effort trade-offs. A short course plus a single exam is time efficient, but you have to create practice opportunities afterwards. The IGEA spreads learning over time, builds practice and review in, and ends with work you can show. The trade-off is you've got to spend more time now, certainly a lot more time on the IGEA, but on the other hand, the trade-off for that is you're going to have less uncertainty later about your ability because you're going to go through that more thorough assessment process. Facts and questions. FAQ. Will IGEA make me a top expert? No, no single program can. Mastery comes from project plus time. The IGEA starts that journey with demonstrated competence and a feedback loop. What if you already have experience? Should you still consider the IGEA? Yes. If you want a reviewed work sample and a structured check on your reasoning, yes, definitely take the IGEA. And I've certainly had students who've come through with quite a lot of experience to take the IGEA, and they've been grateful for what they've learned in the program. If I fail the IGEA interview or project, am I done? No. The project actually expects many first-time candidates won't pass. The key is to resubmit based on the specific feedback that you've been given. Which credential do employers search for? Depending on the country, many recognise the CEA, the Certified Energy Auditor, and the Certified Energy Manager, CEM, thanks to AEE. For roles heavy on applied auditing, employers also value evidence, which are reports, calculations, and outcomes you can explain. The IGA helps produce that evidence. For hiring managers using credentials effectively, well, you can ask for the CA or CEM or the IGA. Either the CA, CEM, or IGA are better than no credential. If a candidate lists the IGA, invite a 10-minute walkthrough of their project. If a candidate lists the CA or CEM, add a short case to see application of their knowledge. In both cases, look for clear explanations, defensible numbers, sound judgment, and ideally implementation of their recommendation. Ethics and professional standards. AEA has helped set high expectations for professionalism. IGEA shares that commitment. In the project stage, candidates document assumptions, cite data, and disclose uncertainty. Habits that build. So where can these paths fit together? One route is to earn CA or CEM for immediate recognition, if these certifications are popular in the country, and then pursue IGEA to convert knowledge into practice and demonstrate your ability to undertake an audit. The pair of these signal both breadth and depth. Let's now give a music analogy to kind of summarize the difference. Think about learning music. One path checks that you understand notes and theory on paper under time pressure. That's important. Another path has you rehearse, perform, get coached, and record a piece others can review. AEE, CEA, and CEM are proving you know the language of music. Fast and focused. STEMI's IGA is like producing a well-played track. You'll still need practice beyond the course to become really competent, but you leave with evidence that you can perform and not just recognize the symbols. So if you already hold the CA or CEM, congratulations. You've taken a respected step created by a true pioneer, AE. If you felt a gap between knowing and doing on real projects, consider adding the IGEA to your toolkit to close that gap with practice, feedback, and a portfolio piece you can show. If you're just starting out, ask yourself, do I want a fast recognized checkpoint, or do I want a tougher path that leaves you with documented applied skills? Either answer can be right for different moments in your career. If your priority is job-ready capability, IGEA is built for that outcome, even if it takes more time and effort. So the next steps I recommend are, map your goal. Is it recognition in those countries where CA and CEM are well recognized versus applied mastery, or is it both? If recognition is urgent, explore the CEA, CEM. Again, it's recognized in some parts of the world, not all parts of the world. Or you can also explore the IGEA, which has growing international recognition. Select your option and plan your study schedule. If applied mastery is your priority, start the IGEA. Set a steady weekly cadence. For example, 4 lessons completed, 3 lessons completed. Complete quizzes with reflection. Practice speaking your reasoning for the interview. And pick a project that mirrors the real work that you wanted. You could also consider a 2-step path. Earn CEA or CEM for broad recognition if these certifications are well known in your country. Then pursue the IGEA to build and show your investment grade auditing skills. So energy efficiency needs professionals who can explain clearly, calculate correctly, and deliver results that stand up to review. Choose the path that builds these abilities. If that's your aim, the IGEA is ready when you are.